Shalom Akim, all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you, Akim, doing the work of truth and sincerity. I'm doing a video, forgive me, I really don't know this man's name, but he's a farmer, a Jake farmer. And this this Edomite must have put this on one of his videos, Turning Point USA, at White House team Trump stop funding this farm. So he made a response, and I'm gonna let y'all hear the response, and then I'm gonna come back with my land back off of his response.
Oh, sweetheart, you're gonna want to sit down for this. See, you think that I'm a farmer on welfare, like this guy. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. Our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act. But, see, there's a problem. I'm black and native, and you may not know this, but welfare is for white people. Oh, and I mean that literally. The USDA got successfully sued for limiting farm welfare.
So when he said welfare is for white people, that is, well, statistic right here. People on welfare by race, largest racial group, white 35%, black 25%, Hispanic 15%. So what he is saying is across the board. And as far as farmers go, for the last couple years, mostly in 2024 and 2025, I saw a lot of Jake or so-called black farmers coming online and basically saying the same thing, and then he's pulling up the proof that they were successfully sued for only for welfare only supporting so-called white Edomite farmers, and that's true. So let him finish it out.
Only to white people. Now, I'm sure if this had happened to you, then you would have just sat in a puddle and pouted, crossed your arms, and called your daddy like the beta cuck child that you are. But one of the key elements of black boy magic is that if we can't go through you, then we're just gonna go around you, which is why my business is funded entirely by private investment and consumer trade. Trade deals that I made, by the way, so that your dumbass president can't fuck them up. Oh, and speaking of messing up trade deals, and let me show you something real quick. See this right here? This is a field of soybeans, and the MAGA farmer that planted it better hope that I keep buying 1,000 bushels of the stuff every week for my livestock feed, since he no longer has an export destination for it. Also, between my personal and business income taxes, pass-through taxes, payroll taxes, sales taxes, regulatory filings, and fees, I'm on track to pay various governments nearly $200,000 this year. Far from me taking anything from the government, you better hope that I keep paying my taxes so that you can get your EBT benefits, which white people overwhelmingly benefit from. Even after all these centuries, all the affirmative action, all the DEI, all the stuff that you say we don't deserve, I'm still working twice as hard to get half as much just to give the other half to you for free. But that's okay, because I'm going to take my half, I'm going to create magic for me and everybody around me, and we're going to live happily ever after. And you are still going to be sitting there with your free crap whining about it the whole time.
So yeah, and what he said about Edomites being overwhelmingly on welfare is a very, very, very true statement. As a matter of fact, Edomites have been on welfare ever since the start of this country. So what I pulled up first is the Homestead Act, which the Homestead Act, I'm going to read, let me see, let's see, I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs. I guess I'll just read the first paragraph, and I might read the second as well. But it says the Homestead Acts were several laws in the United States by which An applicant could acquire ownership of government land or public domain, typically called a homestead. In all, there are more than 160 million acres uh, uh, of public land, or nearly 10% of the total area of the United States, were given away free to 1.6 million homesteaders. Most of the homesteads were west of the Mississippi River. So 160 160 million acres of land given away. Now, and this happened in, let me see, what do it say the year here? Um, a number of For a number of years, individual congressmen put forward bills providing for homesteading, but it was not until 1862 that the first Homestead Act was passed. The Homestead Act of 1862 opened up millions of acres. Any adult who had never taken up arms against the federal government of the United States could apply, except for so-called Negroes. Women and immigrants who had applied for citizenship were eligible. Most homesteading occurred during the period of the 1900s to the 1930s. As of 2017, around 93 million Americans were descendants of people who received land through the Homestead Acts. Background. Let's see. This, a matter of fact, because I want, here it is right here. The second paragraph under background. Between 1862 and 1934, the federal government granted 1.6 million homesteads and distributed 270 million acres of federal land for private ownership. This was a total of 10% of all the land in the United States. Homesteading was discontinued in 1976, except in Alaska, where it continued until 1986. About 40% of applicants who started the process were able to complete it and obtain title to their homestead land after paying a small fee in cash. And that small fee was $1.25. So yeah, even though the $1.25 back then was more like probably $100, it was basically very, very, very cheap. They got it for damn near free. So I mean, I don't know the inflation rate from back then. It might have been more closer to 50, but it was so cheap that it was damn near free. So, and the reason I bring up the Homestead Act, talking about Edomites being on welfare ever since they've been in this land, because hey, and what, we got out of slavery in the 1860s, right? So-called Negroes got out of slavery in the 1860s. Just so happened 1862 to 1976, the Homestead Act was happening. However, there was a thing called 40 acres and a mule at about the same time. It says 40 acres and a mule refers to a key part of Special Field Orders Number 15, Series 1865, a wartime order proclaimed by the Union General William Tecumseh on January 16th, William Tecumseh Sherman on January 16th, 1865. So this is when we were supposed to get that 40 acres and a mule. What is it? What is it? During the American Civil War, to allot land to some freed families in plots of land no larger than 40 acres. Sherman later ordered the Army to lend mules to the agrarian reform effort. So 40 acres of land and a mule. The field orders followed a series of conversations between Secretary of War Edwin Stanton and radical Republican abolitionist Charles Sumner and Thaddeus Stevens. Following following distributions of the institution of slavery provoked by the American Civil War, they provided for the confiscation of 400,000 acres uh, of land. And in the former one, the former wiki I just read, it was over what, 1 point something million that they gave away. This is less than half of that for freedmen or former slaves of land, along with the Atlantic coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, uh, and the divided of it into parcels of no more than 40 acres, on which were to be settled approximately 18,000 formerly enslaved families and other black people then living in the area. Many freed people believed, after being told by various political figures that they had the right to own the land, they had they had been forced to work as slaves and were eager to control their own property. Freed people widely expected to legally claim 40 acres of land. However, Abraham Lincoln's successor as President, Andrew Johnson, tried to reverse the intent of Sherman's wartime Order Number 15 and similar provisions included in the Second Freedmen's Bureau Bill. And obviously, we didn't get no 40 acres and a mule. We don't have descendants that got anything from the 40 acres and a mule bill because they didn't do it. They overthrew that bill. But they didn't overthrow the Homestead Act, which half of America, if not more, benefited from the Homestead Act, which happened to happen at the same time as the 40 acres and a mule. So most Edomites, if not all, had a part, had ancestors that had a part in the Homestead Act. Rather us, so-called Negroes, Latino, or so-called Negroes, because we were enslaved here, we didn't get no land, and of course we remain poor all the way up to this day. Then, I also want to read this because this is pointing out the welfare that you Edomites have been receiving ever since you've been here. Because an Edomite will tell you they worked hard for what they got. No, you didn't. You got it all for free, for pennies on the dollar. And you didn't have to work hard for it. Even to this day, you don't. And that's why I played this man's video. Because even to this day, they don't work hard for anything that they have. Most of the Edomite farmers are on welfare, while the Jake farmers got to get it out the mud, so to speak. Because like I said, he's not the only farmer that I heard say this. So when slave owners got reparations, and then it goes on to say, on April 16th, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed a bill emancipating enslaved people in Washington, the end of a long struggle. But to ease slave owners' pain, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., Emancipation Act paid those loyal to the Union up to $300 for every enslaved person freed. And that is all I need to read. So even the slave owners back then got their reparations. And that's one thing that Jake, so-called black people, be complaining about to this day. Like, they never received 40 acres and a mule, and they never received reparations, which was owed. But everybody else got reparations and got land. Esau got land basically as soon as slavery was over. Esau got land. Jake didn't, just to make sure Jake didn't get no land. Then Edomites that owned slaves that were freed, they got paid for it. But the slaves got nothing. The freed slaves got nothing. And I've done videos on the Black Wall Streets, because like I always say, it wasn't just one place. All over America in the early 1900s, Jake had thriving communities that threatened to take over the whole economy of the Americas without any conflict. But then Edomites blew up all of those communities, literally. Got their military, their National Guard, and destroyed all of those communities. And that's where you get the drowned towns and the buried towns from, including Tulsa, Oklahoma, Redwood, and several towns in Kentucky. You know, it was all over the United States. They got drowned towns and buried towns, buried under central parks, drowned towns under lakes. The most famous Lake Lanier. And it's like these devils have not done anything since they've been here. Anything. They've been getting government handouts ever since they've been here. And why do I bring all this up? Just to bring out 3 scriptures. 1, St. John 10 and 10. The thief cometh not, but to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and this is Yahweh Shai, and that they might have it more abundantly. When Yahweh Shai returns, we'll live again, and we'll have an abundance of life. Because this is not living. Esau, the thief, ain't come but to steal, kill, and destroy. And all throughout his history, he's been showing you that. The next scripture, Micah 2 and 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. This is not our rest. A matter of fact, our rest is coming with the destruction of this place and the return of Yahweh Shai, man. Our rest is coming. And Esau can see it. There was another video that I watched earlier today, a Jake chick talking about how they've changed the whole Marvel Universe setup. They had all these Jake actors lined up for the Marvel Universe, and they canceled them all. Probably the same reason why Blade got canceled. Because a certain demographic of people feel ignored. And of course, it's conservative Edomite males. So they changed the whole setup that they were going for with all these so-called black actors and put it as mostly Edomites. Well, at least Edomites as the main characters. So that conservative Edomites don't feel so ignored in the Marvel Universe. Matter of fact, this movie Odyssey coming out basically pissed Esau off, where they talking about DEI and all that, where they don't understand their true history. They've never done anything great in their whole history. And that Odyssey story was written by a Jake, a so-called a dark-skinned man. And all those people in history that he was talking about were dark-skinned people. Because they don't like to bring up the history of Europe, where Jake ruled, or the history of Rome, the Holy Roman Empire, when Jake was ruling. When you hear famous names like Marcus Aurelius, which was really a so-called black person. And it's like, yeah, they lied to themselves so long that they believed the lie. And they don't believe there's any other way that anything else could be happening. Like a so-called black man being a farmer, owning his own shit, and not being on welfare by the government like his Edomite so-called white counterparts. And this is Hosea 6 and 1. Come and let us return to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for he hath torn and he will heal us. He has smitten and he will bind us up. So your reparations is coming from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The only way we can be repaired is to come back to the fact that we the Israelites. And we're going to get the kingdom of heaven and rule it according to his ways. Not according to, Esau the devil, man. So all this BS that's going on now, it ain't gonna be going on in the kingdom of heaven. So the Esau is the thief. He not coming to repair you. He's coming to destroy you. He's in power to destroy you. That's why Trump is so popular amongst Edomites, because he's doing what they wanted him to do. Only problem is he's doing it to them too. You know, he's working for the Israelis. That's the only beef they got with him. Otherwise, they don't got no problem with all these laws and and the atmosphere of America that he's pushing. Anti Jake. So that's all I got for this video. Till the next time, all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Kakadash. The Linus of the Apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to you. I can doing the work of truth and sincerity. The next time, Shalom.